Hello, everybody. Hello,
Hi,
Markus.
folks. Hello, Heiko. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine. It's us again, another time for an Ask Me Anything session. And this time it's a very special one, right?
Yes, the Scriptrunner boys are back in business with a special guest today.
With a special guest, none other than Jonny Chipz. And we're very happy to have him here in our session. And so I think we're just going to add him to the stream so we can say hello to him.
Just
Hi, John.
let him in.
Heiko, Markus, how are you both doing? Nice
Hi,
to see
Johnny.
you.
Nice to
How are
see
you
you
doing?
too.
Yeah, good. All good. Yeah, it's just busy and, spinning many plates, but all good. Happy to be on the show. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thanks
you.
for when I asked you a month ago, you immediately said, "Yeah, of course, I'm in." So that's really cool. And yeah, we got a number of questions from the community, especially focus on what you're doing, and so that's what we're going to put into. We'll talk about in a minute, but I think if there is somebody out there who doesn't know who you are, maybe you just explain a little bit, what you're doing and how you came into tech. So, and then we're going to follow up with the questions that we got.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, no problem. But yeah, like I say, thanks for having me on the show. It's always great to come on and say hello to a fellow community folk. So yeah, for those that don't know me, my name is John Lunn. I go by the pseudonym Jonny Chipz across most social media platforms. So you can find me on there. I work as a technical architect focused on Microsoft Azure. Work for a company called BT Enterprise, focused on UK business. So I kind of help BT's UK customers adopt cloud, move to cloud, do some innovative things in the cloud, and generally have good fun, learning new things, passing that insights on to customers, that sort of stuff. I've been with that company now for probably about 9.5 years. Before that, I was in consulting. I was doing a lot with unified comms and messaging for a number of years. And yeah, I mean, my potted career history really kind of started out many moons ago. I think, you'd be interested. I didn't start off in tech. I didn't, my first role wasn't in tech. I was always, one of those kids, I suppose, that enjoyed playing with computers and kind of grew up with computers. I'm without giving my age away, kind of like a late 70s child. So, well, I just gave it away. So, so I kind of grew up with the whole Commodore 64 and the dot matrix printers and the big 5.25-inch floppy drives and kind of cut my teeth as a kid with all that kind of tech. And yeah, moved on through and moved into the position I am over 20 plus years later. But yeah, all good. Happy to be here.
Excellent. And nowadays you're doing a lot of things around Azure, right? So I think that's the main platform, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'd done a lot of work with Azure over the years since it was kind of released back, in classic Azure days, well over 10 years ago now. And at the time, I was fundamentally working with 365, so doing lots of Exchange migrations, mail migrations, and various bits and pieces. Then we had Link, which was like the communication server, which came from I don't know if you remember Office Communication Server 2007. It was the platform for effectively, it was a platform that had voice technology added into it. So I kind of cut my teeth on that back many moons ago and moved through into 365, doing Exchange, messaging, Link into Skype for Business when it went to 365. And so kind of did a lot of work with that. And when Azure started, it was always a kind of, the classic Azure was, kind of minimal services compared to what it is today. But, we were kind of putting the odd network with maybe a VM, to host some. It was typically hybrid messaging solution bits and pieces in there. And to be honest with you, when kind of it got to a point with when everything transitioned over to Teams, I was doing a lot of work with Teams and Teams Voice, but I thought actually I felt like I wanted to get back to my infrastructure roots, which is kind of what I did in my first tech job was very much a support role, and it was kind of managing anything with a plug on it was the old adage. If it's got a plug on it, it's IT's responsibility. They'll fix it. So, anything from kettles and toasters. Right now, I joke, but it was literally anything with a plug. You could
everything with a cable, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's broken. So I've done my fair share of printer jams, my fair share of toner changes, network and network crimping, and all sorts of stuff.
Oh my God, I remember this as well. Oh my God.
Yeah, it'll all come flooding back. So hurting your fingers on chrome strips trying to move telephone cables around and all that good stuff. So yeah, when in the later part of my career, sort of the last 5 or 6 years or so, I very much focus on Azure, purely because of all the stuff that I learned throughout my career. I thought I'd like to get back to doing predominantly that infrastructure, but it's kind of taken me on this journey now over the last couple of years to kind of go. I've done a little bit of software development. I'm not a software developer, but I've done bits and pieces as lots of people in tech have over the years. So I kind of use the opportunity to start learning a lot of that stuff on the Azure platform and seeing, how the Azure platform can, help you. And of course, PowerShell, it's my first taste of PowerShell, of course, was Exchange 2010 when PowerShell was released to manage and configure that platform. I think that was the first product that was managed with PowerShell back in the day.
Almost, I think it was Exchange 2007, but the Exchange guys.
Oh, of course, yeah.
The Exchange guys, they got the vision from Jeffrey Snover first. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, PowerShell has been, with me. I guess it's probably fair to say I've done less with PowerShell the last few years because I've kind of drifted away from that. I don't know how to say it, but it's almost like I'm on infrastructure now. So I'm doing lots more, not necessarily just with server technologies. So, but it's certainly close to my heart. It's helped me out, and I've, happy to have learned those technologies over the years and put them to good use. So, but yeah, Azure is where I'm focused at now, and I've done a fair amount of bits and pieces with the community certainly over the last 2 years since COVID struck us all.
And that's where really you became a well-known figure in the community, right? Exactly around this time.
Yeah. Well, I guess like most people in tech, we're aware of this thing called community, and certainly the years that I've been involved in tech, I've been to conferences, I've seen lots of different community groups. Right, I was always on the peripherals, never really jumped in and kind of contributed and really made friends out of community people, mainly because I was always on the road, with my job. I was always out and about. I had a young family, kids growing up, it's just not enough hours in the day. And to be honest with you, COVID came and it kind of gave me that excuse. And it was the first thing I thought of, right, if I'm locked down in my house, I've got all this time, at my fingertips, don't have to travel so much. I'm going to make a concerted effort to try and focus on community and try and give back a lot of the kind of things that I've been through as a technical person over the years, and just jump in feet first. So I don't know if I'm a well-known figure. I'm certainly probably a bit of an infamous figure in the community. That a lot of bits and pieces that I've been involved with. It's been good fun though.
Yeah, I mean, I would say a lot of people really know you and follow you. I just also posted the link to your website into the chat. Cool. Because I think that's where people can really find you and get all the information of the things that you're doing, all the videos. I think 2 videos a week, right?
Yeah. I started with the blog, of course, like a lot of people do. Started blogging about the stuff I was learning, the things that I was finding and fixing and all sorts of stuff. And it quickly led on to doing kind of YouTube videos. I mean, look, let's face it now, we've had 2 years of video conferences and staring at screens. So, I get it. People are, certainly I'm starting to feel a little bit burnt out with the amount of video calls that we all have to jump on a daily basis. But, at the time, it kind of gave me an opportunity to do something, look, I'd never done before. I had a young son who wanted to use the PC that I built as a gaming PC. And I thought, well, hang on, if you're going to use it, I'm going to get some use out of it as well. So I thought, I'm going to set up a YouTube channel. And of course, the kids laugh at me and, oh, God, Dad, you're too old for that. And it's like, no, I'm not. So yeah, I it's got to the point now where I'm doing a couple of videos every week. I do like an update show on a Friday, just talking through the Azure news and obviously calling out other awesome people across the community that are putting some great content out there and helping us all kind of learn new bits and pieces. And then I do a regular show called In Conversation With, which is, obviously, Heiko, you've been on it. Markus, I'm sure we'll have to get you on it at some point as well. But just having a chat.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's just really just to kind of, I guess my idea behind that was to kind of get to know the people in the community that, not just by their technology, but, get to know them as people, because, it takes all sorts to make this world go round. And it's great to meet new people, get new ideas, make new friends. And it's been a really, really fun and interesting ride is probably the best way to put it over the last couple of years.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe that's a good point now to start with the first question that we got.
Yeah.
That is directed to you, John. It's from Patel. And
so I don't want to interrupt, but do you want to combine the questions from Patel and Pedro Lopez? So I think they are going in the same direction.
Yeah. We're starting with one, and then we'll just see how we then follow up with this. So Patel was asking, how do you stay consistent in anything you do? You are very good at it. So it's a question and a compliment, right? So
and thank you for that question, and thank you for the compliment. Yeah, and do I think after turning my attention to doing this thing, one of the big pointers that I've spoken with now, I guess, well over 80 people in the community from all walks of life, all different technologies, on soft skills, on technical skills, all sorts of things. And the one thing that has stood out, if you want to, then it stood out, and it's not necessarily just related to technical, career progression, but it's anything in life. I think if you want to make a success of it, I think consistency, certainly for me, is something that you've really got to latch into. And I'll comment on how I do it in a second. But I think to make a go of something, it's just about, just keep turning up. A good friend of mine in the community, Mike Pfeiffer, been on his show, done a couple of conversations with Mike. Fantastic guy. He resonated so well with my own journey. But he keeps saying, you just got to keep turning up. You just got to keep going. And that's half the battle. I think the difference between those that want to push on and keep going are that they just turn up. They just do what they're doing. Because, look, let's face it, there are times where you wake up in the morning, you may be having a bit of an off day, but you don't want to go to work, or you don't want to do certain things. And look, it is too easy just to go, look, I'm just not going to do it today.
Yeah.
If you can somehow push yourself to go, no, that's not happening, I'm going to do it. Absolutely, you've got to be mindful of your own kind of mental health and don't push yourself to a point that you're not comfortable with. But for me, it was just about that getting into a regular cadence, getting to a regular rhythm, and learning new things and pushing yourself to do things on a regular basis is, for me, something that I feel keeps me motivated and pushing.
Yes.
I guess how I stay consistent is probably, I guess, a bit more of a difficult question to answer, because for me, with videos, with blogs, with anything that I put together or do, it's more about, I'm generally one of those people that if I commit to something and I say I'm going to do something, I do try super hard to make sure I do that, not to let others down and not to kind of, get that reputation of saying yes to things and then not doing things. I'd rather just say, look, no, I can't do that to people, so get that frame of mind. But with the videos, it was something that took me a little while to get used to doing. We were kind of joking before we went live here. It's a whole new set of skills, a whole new set of disciplines and soft things that you kind of have to learn and get to grips with. And look, I haven't nailed it, but the more you do, the more efficient you become, and the more the easier things become, I guess. So with my regular weekly shows, I make a point of getting up an hour early on a Friday, having a look through the week's worth of news, having a look through community contributions, making a little bit of a list, and I just go into record mode, and for me, that is my regular Friday morning routine. And so far, I've been able to do that for, I think I'm on episode number 79. So that's 79 weeks. Wow. Every Friday morning doing that. And yeah, you want to change things up. And to be honest with you, it's a case of when you want to change things, that's when you need the additional time, because what do you want to change it to? So at the minute, I'm in this zone where I want to change things up, but it's just finding that little bit of focus time to think of the content, think of the way that you're going to kind of produce that with a video. But yeah, so I get into a regular habit of that with the In Convo videos. It's a case of literally just reaching out to, the people across the community that you really want to speak with, and making time, I guess. It's making time to do the stuff that you're passionate about. And for me, that's what I do. I'm not going to lie, time is pretty precious with me, certainly as we've kind of come out of COVID and got back to a little bit more normality with having 3 young kids and a wife and family, and and of course a 9-to-5 job to focus on. Time is pushed, and I find that a little bit sad because I love doing the community stuff. I really do love it. So I think it's a bit of a mix of push yourself to commit and turn up when you probably don't want to, break through that barrier, but then also have that passion. You've got to have a passion, I believe. Then that in itself then keeps you motivated to want to do these things anyway. So hopefully that kind of sets the scene.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a lot of good input for people, and it's because Markus already said we had Pedro Lopez with a question on any tips for consistency, which I think you already kind of covered, like like you with your routine. I think I'm surprised that because I thought you may be collecting this Azure information throughout the week, but you do really do it on this Friday morning. You go through Twitter, probably through the announcements, and
pretty much. So I tweet quite regularly anyway. So I tweet, and what I tend to do is anything that I want to talk about on the Friday show or anything I want to read, I use Twitter as my bookmark. Anything that's of interest that I want to come back to. If I haven't got time to read it or watch the video there and then, I'll retweet it. And for me, that's my bookmark, and it also helps spread that message as well. So it's like a win-win. So if I get time, sometimes I'll go back through my Twitter feed and watch a video or read a blog article from somebody. And all I do then on Friday is literally, collect those posts on my video and talk about them and say, look, found this really good article here. So-and-so put this video out there, and kind of talk about it. And, I felt that was a way of not just consuming, but consuming and then saying to others, wow, have you seen this? To help promote other people as well, which I think is what community is, as far as I'm concerned. It's kind of helping, giving a leg up to others as well, where you need to.
Yeah, absolutely. Excellent. Markus, do you want to take the next question that also came from Pedro?
Yeah, sure. How do you study for your certifications?
Oh, that's a good question. I've spoken about this a few times now, and certifications, I think, to be honest with you, certifications can be seen, it depends who you are, but I think sometimes people can see them as either a necessary evil or they don't think there's any value. And I think it really depends on who you are, where you are in your career, and what your intentions are with getting that certification. Now, I'll explain how I use certifications. As somebody that's been in the industry for a long, long time, clearly over the last few years, Microsoft have built up their new certification program, with the shields and the kind of the fundamentals, the associates and the expert level exams. And they've started to break those certs now out into kind of more specific niche areas of technology. Yeah. So the way that I use certs is really just a point to fill in the gaps of knowledge. So we don't work with all the technologies on a daily basis. Certainly you can't, if you're in any kind of role, full well that you're focused on a particular area at a given time. So by the time you might want to use certain skills, you may have forgotten things. It may have moved on drastically. That's the case today. Things move on so fast. So I tend to, when a new cert comes out, now and again, I'll sit a beta cert only if I feel I've got a good chance of passing it through past knowledge, through kind of just winging it and jumping straight in, see how far I get. If I fail, fine. I mean, it's easy for me to say that because my employer is part of the Enterprise Skills Initiative, so I don't have to pay for exams. That's another key point. If you have to pay for them, it's a different story. So what I tend to do is get the skills measured, work my way through those skills measured, and focus on the bits where I think, I haven't done anything with that. So I will focus on that for a bit of time. I might do a few blog articles, might do a video, might speak. But then I use certs really just to kind of give me that level of, right, okay, I think I've hit all the areas that certification covers. And I think I'm at that level of knowledge. But to me, it's not good enough just to have the certification. You've got to be able to apply that knowledge in some kind of real world situation, which kind of takes you on to that further bit then, which is, it's easy to say that. It's more difficult to actually work on production or customer projects using those technologies. I've kind of been lucky in some areas where I've done certs that I kind of learned the knowledge, being able to apply it straight away, which then builds up your knowledge and builds up your experience. But honestly, there are other certs that I've done where I've literally done it. I wouldn't say parrot fashion, but I've been through the modules. I've learned through the text. I've done some sandboxes and learned things. I passed the exam, but then I've never applied that knowledge. I've never been able to be in a situation where I can actively apply that knowledge, which all that happens then is it fritters away out your mind. I can tell you that for nothing. It goes after a while. So, it's great having the cert, but unless you can apply that knowledge, and I'm talking about me now, this is my perspective.
Sure.
And what I think for others, if you're new into the industry, if you're a student coming in, certs are great because it kind of gives you that leg up. It gives you that direction for your, to get your career started. And I try not to subscribe to the negative views on certifications. I only focus on the positive views, because, I've heard some negative views and the way Microsoft changed them, but I don't subscribe to those, kind of views. I think they're there. You don't have to take certification if you don't want to. Certainly shouldn't feel pressured to by anybody, really. I know some employers insist that you need to get certifications. Probably find another employer if you feel a little bit too pressured to do that. I don't think that's right to pressure, but anyway, that's how I use them. I use them really to get a benchmark and know where I need to aim for a certain technology stack or technology suite.
Cool. Are there any specific resources or the way that you learn? Are you a video person, or do you watch YouTube, or do you have books, or how do you prepare?
Yeah, and you know what? That's probably changed for me. It changes for me quite frequently, if I'm honest. I think personally, I'm a hands-on learner. I like to jump in and do. I do like a good book, and by a good book, I for whatever reason, I can't get on with reading off screens awfully well. I don't know whether that's because sat in front of a screen all day and whatever, the last thing is sat here kind of scrolling through a screen. So I do enjoy buying a physical book. I got books behind me, I got books on the desk, and that's like my relaxation. Rather than reading a novel or something like that, I'll read a techie book and just skim through it and read a chapter or two. But I think for me, certainly of late, because some of the technologies that I'm interested in and want to learn more about, they feel that they're more physical. You've got to be able to build and do things and make devices talk to each other. So there's no better way of learning than to kind of, if you can afford to go out and spend a little bit of money and getting some cool little devices and gadgets and gizmos, IoT is the space I'm talking about now, and, using AI. There's so many free services that you can kind of spin up and turn on in Azure, that it's that hands-on bit I like to do more often than not now. And I find that helps me, cement the learnings.
Indeed.
I think that's a very good way. Also, I think for other people. But I think maybe that there's a good follow-up question, because you said it's about applying what you've learned. Because I think we have one question which is about what was your most interesting Azure project?
Okay. I suppose I'll talk about the pet projects that I do on the side, and I got involved with when I first started learning about AIoT, so AI on IoT devices. I kind of got involved in that through community people, seeing awesome people doing some great stuff. And I thought I really want to learn some of that stuff. And it involved object detection. It was a course run by Paul DiCarlo, who's one of he was at the time, he was Microsoft developer advocate over in the States. He was heavily involved with building up, I believe, the partnership with NVIDIA and Microsoft at the time. So he was doing some awesome stuff with the NVIDIA, their development kits. They got the Jetson Nano and the Xavier products. They're basically like Raspberry Pi size compute with massive GPUs on them, so you can do some of that real-time processing.
Okay.
So he was running a course, an NVIDIA course about object detection, and it was deep learning. So it was about that. How do we use these devices to do real-time analytics on video? Really, so 24 frames a second video, you're analyzing all of those images on a little device. And the lessons I learned through that was really, really interesting. It really hooked me into the way of trying to, understand how a lot of these AIoT projects will work in the future. So that's been a real passion of mine for probably the last 18 months or so now, is learning about all of those cool technologies and feeding all that data into Azure, into IoT Hub, and stream analytics and reporting out the back end and doing some cool automation and alerts with it as well. So that was a really cool side project that I worked on.
That sounds really interesting. Yeah. So I think I would, maybe we are switching gears a little bit, because we have one question that came up regarding script runner. So We will come back to John and because we have a couple of more questions. But I think, Markus, we are slipping in this question that
the
came
question
in
from Thomas.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So Thomas want to know or ask the question. I want to call SRX via REST API from anywhere and not just from one host. Also by different user. Is there a how-to in script runner and which license do I need? So yes, at first there is a how-to. I think Heiko is going to post it into the chat. So there is some kind of documentation you can have a look into, and so yeah, it's possible to call the REST API not just from one host. So the only thing you need is a web service connector license. And there are different license models. So we have 3 license models, and for you, there is, I think it's, so you want to use your administrative or help desk users. So there is a license for it's called microservices or Kubernetes. So more information you can get from our sales team about this license, and there, if you want to do it with Heiko,
I just put it in the stream. So because we discussed this before that, right, Markus, where we said, okay, it really depends on the use case. So what kind of systems you want to allow to trigger scripts in Script Runner, and I guess from what Thomas asked, it's most probably the user application computer directly option, but it also could be the Microsoft microservices one. Maybe we can have maybe next week have a direct conversation with Thomas about this particular scenario. But that's the overall scenarios that are possible, right?
Yeah, exactly. So both license models are so you are from both license models you're able to call the API from different hosts. The only thing that differs here are the user licenses. So the user application computers directly model, which is included by default into the web service connector, is only usable with self-service end users, and the microservices Kubernetes license model is usable with administrative and help desk users as well.
Absolutely. And so, as I said, I think it would be great if, for more details, we just have a conversation maybe next week with Thomas to talk about it. But I think it's an interesting question because it's because we see that more and more where it's not just triggering these PowerShell scripts interactively by users, but also allowing things like ServiceNow or a SharePoint workflow or a Power Automate or a monitoring system to trigger scripts in a centralized way. And that's exactly where the web services come into the picture. And I'm very sure Thomas has a very specific idea in mind because it's a customer who already uses our solution for quite a while. So will be interesting to see what exactly he wants to achieve. But I think we are definitely able to do what he wants to do. So that's what we wanted to cover as well, because we received that question just yesterday, actually, by Thomas. And but now I would like to come back to John and maybe come a little bit away from the IT area, because there's one question. What are you passionate about besides IT?
Oh, right. Well, I think you know the answer to that one, Heiko. It's
I have
music.
no idea.
Music, of course. No. Yeah, I suppose it's probably fair to say for me, because we've been locked down again, not to go on about the COVID, but IT and tech has been kind of pushed to the forefront of my passions, and it's kind of more of a hobby and obviously a career as well, which is great. But besides that, I got 3 kids. They all play, various sports. Traveling around the country with my kids is a great thing that I love to do as well, is watching them play their sporting activities, which has kind of kept me going. But the other thing is music. I played music since the age of 14, played various instruments and played in bands right up until a few years ago, where I kind of had to stop because I don't know what it is. I think I get involved with something and just do things to the extremes. But I was out sort of 3 nights a week with the band playing, and as well, it's one of those things then, trying to juggle time. So I took the decision to stop doing that, with the caveat that I'll probably go back to it at some point in the future. But yeah, I do love live music, love watching and listening to new bands and doing all that sort of stuff. So yeah, looking forward to getting out and seeing a few more bands now we can.
And I can see from their background there's a drum and there's a guitar. So that's you're playing the guitar as well, or is it a bass guitar? I can't see.
No, it's an acoustic 6-string. Yeah. No, I started. To be honest, no, I started playing trumpet in school. Trumpet, keyboards, recorders. And I think by the time I was in high school, I picked up my first electric guitar when I was about 13 or 14. I started to learn guitar, started off playing, with friends in bands, going out and I think I did my first gig in a local club when I was about 14. I was actually singing as well, would you believe? I was actually singing at that age. So, but it was good fun. We were doing all the modern hits of the day back then. And I think I went to college, actually. I did performing arts. So it was music theory, music production in college for 2 years.
I had no idea. Okay. Wow.
Well, to be honest, it was my plan A, guys. I wanted to become that internationally famous rock star. I had the music. I'd been to college. The plan was to conquer the world with the band, and yeah, it didn't quite work out that way. I kind of had to get a job.
It's never too late. It's never too late, right?
Look, Heiko, it's the festive tech calendar coming up in a few months. We just said, it's never too late. I think we can still crack it. We have to collaborate and do something together.
Exactly. And Markus is also singing background, right, Markus?
Oh my God.
I think that was a yes, Heiko. Yeah.
I heard a yes loud and clear.
Okay, yeah, sure. I can try. Let's give it a try.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah. Very cool. Excellent. I think we have another question, also kind of shifting gears a little bit. We got the news that Jeffrey Snover is leaving Microsoft, the inventor of PowerShell. And so there was a question, what do you think about Jeffrey Snover leaving Microsoft? I think this is maybe...
I probably picked up the news the same time as you did on Twitter. I saw that. I think after 22 plus years, I think. He's a fellow. He's one of the senior guys. That was the charge of PowerShell effectively. I had the pleasure of meeting Jeffrey a few years back at one of the events. Saying hello to him. First thing was a shock to see, but I'm sure, it's, to be honest, there's a lot of big names moving from Microsoft at the moment, it seems, for whatever reason. But yeah, I've no idea what he's gone on to. I'm not sure that he's announced anything where he's moving on to or what he's up to, whether he's going to a new job. Maybe he's retiring. I have no idea. But yeah, it was a shock, I think, is probably the first and foremost. I thought somebody like Jeff Snover would be, part of the Microsoft furniture until, he decided to retire, personally. I think he's done so much for, certainly IT pros, people like me that have kind of come through that support path over the years. And, PowerShell has been such an enabling language to learn and use for your kind of day-to-day working in those kind of roles. It's he certainly has changed the landscape with that language over the last sort of 15 years or so.
And I think, Markus, one thing that we saw is he didn't came over to the PowerShell conference. That was maybe in hindsight one of the, now it's clear why, I guess. Were the people kind of disappointed that he wasn't there, or what do we do?
It was a big topic there. So I guess it was one of the first things which was mentioned in the keynote, so that he wouldn't be there at the PSConf. So I was a little bit disappointed. I hope to meet him there, but yeah, it's understandable. So if he currently in a change, so that he didn't take place in a conference. So yeah, I hope to meet him there, but yeah.
Another time, maybe.
But
I think what I would say is I think the PowerShell team in general is in good hands. There are people came on the team like Jason Helmick 2 years ago, and Steve Lee is still there. So I think the technical kernel, so to speak, of the people who are also in charge of bringing PowerShell forward in the day-to-day business, I think they are there. But of course, it's he was the figure, right? Everybody knew Jeffrey equals PowerShell, right? So let's see where, as you said, John, let's see where he's ending up. Right now, I can see him also on Twitter commenting a lot on geopolitics and stuff like that. Maybe he's doing something. Something different. So Thomas was missing him too. He was, just see that in the chat. So he was also in Vienna. So,
but I guess you already met him in the past.
Okay. Good for him. Okay, cool. So yeah, talking about PSConf, I think this is a question relates to Markus. Like, how was the PSConf in Vienna? So maybe you can tell us a little bit about the conference. It was your first PowerShell conference, right?
It was my first PowerShell conference, but to be honest, it was my first conference at all. So I was at a few ferries in the past, but not at a specific conference with, or let's say a community-related conference. So yeah, after these 2 years of COVID and staying at home, it was really overwhelming to meet a bunch of 300 people in real life again, and it was great. So Vienna was great. I attended a lot of sessions there, and I learned a lot. So the sessions of Andreas Hähnel and Evgeny Smirnov were really. So yeah, I took a lot of stuff with me, and I think I can put them in my day job. And yeah, it was great to meet all the people of the community. Normally, I just had them on Twitter, and to meet them in real life, it was great. So
yeah. Cool. So I think we're already reaching the 40 minutes mark. So maybe we're coming up with some final question. There is one also, of course, related to John here, which instrument would you like to play but haven't tried yet?
Oh God, which one haven't I tried? God, that's a curveball question. What haven't I tried that I'd like to play? I honestly don't know. I guess I'm not going to throw a curveball out there like the harp or something like that, because that's silly. I tell you what, no, honestly, serious answer, and I've managed to impose this on my my middle daughter, the piano. I started to learn keyboards as a young child, gave it up because I just wasn't focused and dedicated enough for it. But piano is one of those instruments that I absolutely love to listen to. I love all the classical piano, classical music, love listening to those tunes, call them tunes. It's a bit, those pieces of music, things like Debussy, Clair de Lune, those kind of piano pieces, those great grand piano pieces. So I kind of imposed that on my daughter and said, look, she does piano lessons now every week, and she's starting to get a bit proficient at it. So, but that is absolutely one of the instruments that I love. Whenever there's somebody playing piano, I've got to stop and listen. I love seeing and listening to people play well. I can play chopsticks really badly now, but when you find a pianist that can really play well, I absolutely love that. So yeah, I guess that would be the instrument that I wish I'd learned to play properly and get really good at.
And you could still do it, right? I mean, again, it's not too late, right?
Yeah, I think I just set that another plate up. Heiko, you're giving me more things here. Stop it.
Yeah. Okay.
No, you're right, though.
maybe one more thing. It's not on the list, but it just came up. I would like to ask you actually. Is there anything coming up? Some new things that you're planning to publish for the community? Any new content or new type of content? Maybe you're writing a book. Because you said you like to read. Maybe you would also writing a book or something.
I have been approached, and I'm in talks about writing.
Really?
Okay. I am, but I at the minute I'm a little bit non-committal right now because of the time that will take away from me.
Sure.
I mean, but I would love that. I would love to be able to, it's just for that personal kind of accomplishment to be able to do something, to that level, because, people that write books, they're like, gods to me. I don't know, how you've got the patience to sit down and, and work your way through, writing a book at that kind of, that level. But certainly, I mean, community content, I'm always speaking with awesome people across the community. So there's always 1,000,001 things on my to-do list at the moment. And I mean, right after this, actually, I've got another live stream with 2 guys that I'm working with on a series called When Ops Meets Dev, get it right. And we're kind of working our way through building a microservices-based e-commerce platform, I guess, on Azure, using all the technology. What we're doing is trying to deploy things to lots of different platforms and in lots of different ways to kind of look at them and maybe describe when might you use, Docker Desktop over publishing something to an Azure container instance or app services or up to Kubernetes. So we're actually doing the Kubernetes bit after this. That's been going for about 5 or 6 weeks now, and that's really good. 5 or 6 episodes. We do 2 episodes a month of that. There's more in conversations with coming. I think I'm booked up until mid-August at the moment with sessions. So they're every week you'll have another community member. I want to get back to blogging a bit more. I really do. I've started to write some seeds of more blog posts, but that's one thing I want to try and get done more. But yeah, I mean, there's a couple of tech day events that I'm not going to say too much about them yet because I don't know if they'll come off or not, but working with the community teams over at Microsoft to get, a couple of tech day events, which are always good fun. I've been on 1 or 2 of those over the last couple of years, and it's with awesome community people, other MVPs from right across there. So yeah, I think it's fair to say there's lots going on. I think I just need an extra couple of hours in a day if anybody can fix that for me.
Well, I'm sure there will be a solution. But so it's great to hear that. So there will be a lot more Jonny Chipz and the community. That's really something we can all really looking forward to.
I'll apologize up front, Heiko.
including the song for the festive tech calendar, right?
Right. So, are we making that official now, Heiko? Because I'm game if you are. We gotta,
I mean, it's out now, right? It's on YouTube, so I think we can do it, right?
Quick message Gregor and Richard. Tell them get the first submission in.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, look, it was really great have you in our session. That was really extremely interesting, and I think especially the stuff around how you're staying consistent was very, very inspiring. A lot of insights for people, and looking forward to all the stuff that we will see, and maybe we can have another special guest, Jonny Chipz, later in the year. Who knows?
Oh, my pleasure, guys. It's been great. Thank you for inviting me on. It's been a lot of fun. Thank you.
Same here. Sure. Thanks a lot. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Have a nice weekend.
Nice weekend for you guys.
Bye, and keep on scripting.
Yes.
That's a new one.
All right.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye, guys. Bye, Jonny. Bye.